What is up, y'all? It is your boy here, back with another weekly round of content for you. This week we are diving into something that I've had a lot of fun learning over the past 2 months, which is editing. And editing specifically with Premiere Pro, which is the software I use to edit all my lovely videos you guys see on a weekly basis. But I really wanted to go over some of the simple stuff that you can do to bring a lot of your stuff to the next level. Because when you start looking at what Premiere is, it's a lot. And it's something that I more than anything it was a lot for me to understand until I had one of my friends who does it for a living kind of come in and be like, hey, this is the little stuff you can do to make your videos better. And so I kind of want to show off a lot of what I've learned over these past 2 months, whether it be transitions, fixing your audio, putting stuff together and making it look halfway decent. All these things that you may not understand if you don't like go in and watch YouTube videos or go through hours upon hours of tutorials to try and learn stuff. It's quick, it's simple, and it puts your videos on top of the edge before you even get started editing. But with that, let's get into it, y'all. Alrighty, y'all. So to give you some basics before we jump into anything else, I want to look at this from a standpoint of you've never touched Premiere before in your life. And this is a situation I was in a few months ago where I had never touched any kind of editing software in my life and had to kind of learn. I had a friend teach me really quickly, like I said earlier, the basics, and that's kind of what I want to give on to you guys, as well as some other little things that I've learned over the process of editing. So the first thing, there we go. But the first two things is the basic two tools that I use when I'm going through this. And so this is my main screen before we get into that. And this is where I do a lot of my work. But we have things like your editing tab, like you can see in the top here. You have the color tab, which I don't really use, but you would be able to adjust the color. You have the effects, which we'll get into a little bit earlier, which is all this stuff on the right-hand side here. You have the audio tab, which is where you can look into how the audio looks in your video, which I also use a lot, and we'll get into a little bit later. You have graphics, which is how I actually make my intros to my video by using some of the essential graphics, which is a really cool process that I love to use. And then you have the library, which is where you find all of your stock, basically all the stock music or sounds that you'd want to use when you make videos. But getting back into it. So I spend a lot of my time in the editing tab. And the two major tools that I'll use in the editing tab is my selection tool, which is your basic how you move around. It's like your mouse, more or less. And that's how you move stuff. That's how you click on stuff and do anything like that. And then we have the razor tool right here, which is how you split things in half and kind of like cut clips down and change them. And so, like, just to give you guys an example, we have this right here, which you guys can kind of see I'm hovering over. I don't have a mouse in this, which is kind of weird, but, or at least when I'm trying to stream to you guys, but regardless, we have the, you can see this clip right here, and when I click it, it splits it in half. And so now, if I wanted to, and I didn't say like, oh, this is a portion of the video I didn't want, I would right click on it, and I could delete it. And the other cool thing you guys can do, so you can either clear something, which just deletes it, or you can ripple clear, which when you see I ripple clear, it cuts everything back down to where it would stop. So instead of being an empty space, like if I were to just do a regular clear, you see you have that empty space. When I instead ripple clear, which another cool key you guys can use, Control Z is your best friend. Learn to use Control Z, learn it fast, because Control Z is one of the best tools I use over and over again. It's maybe just because I mess up a lot. But so we have clear, we have ripple clear, and then you can see ripple clear leaves no space. But I'll go back and Control Z a bunch. But these are the two major tools within here that I use a lot. I don't really use the rest of this for basic editing, but your razor tool and your selection tool are going to be the two biggest ones. So the next thing I want to talk about is transitions. And transitions are something that you can use to just make the overall movement of your video a lot smoother. So I'll show you guys this right here. This is without a transition. This is just the start of one of my videos. And you can see right here in the top right, if it'll play. So it's just it just cuts directly to the next thing. And it doesn't look as clean, and it looks kind of awkward. But if we go to the effects tab right here on the top middle, and we go to video effects, and there's a lot that goes on here. A lot of stuff that honestly for basic editing you're never going to use. And maybe as you get into a lot more advanced editing you'll use it. But just for basic stuff, there's a lot going on here. But we have video edits, effects, and we have video transitions. We're going to use video transitions and we're going to use dissolve. There's a lot of other stuff, like you could do like your very cheesy like PowerPoint page peel, slide, wipe, all that weird stuff. But for this one, we're just going to go to the dissolve tab. We're going to do cross dissolve. And so we put in the cross dissolve. It's going to show you that really the insufficient media doesn't really mean anything. But you're going to go before that. And now if we do it and we press play, that transition is a lot clearer. And so it's really nice and it's a lot smoother in what you do instead of just being that very abrupt cut to the next slide. And then when we do our audio on top of that, so like down here, we'll have our audio. So I went from the audio from my intro into this into my audio clip right here. This top clip, don't worry about, we'll get into it later. But this bottom clip is the one that we actually want. So that's where I'm going to go into, instead of video transitions, I'm going to go into audio transitions. Crossfade, and there's constant power, exponential fade, and constant gain. The two big important ones here is constant power, which basically moves your audio in a to make it more smooth. So if I could drag it here, you'll see that if you put it at the beginning or end, it just keeps it going. And so I put it at the beginning and end of stuff, and it keeps the audio going. So now you can hear the audio won't fade. Whereas I'll show you guys what it looks like beforehand. So we go from here, and that kind of seems smooth. But if we do constant power in the beginning and end of it, and we put it back there, it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but in the overall constants of your video, it makes a huge difference and something that's really nice. And then if we go all the way back down here at the end of my video, and here we have my music, and so I'll put like, this is my end screen, so you'll hear the music, and then it dips to black, which is the other thing we talked about earlier with video transitions. So if I were to say take dip to black off, I cleared that, and I cleared off my exponential fade. I'm sorry. So if I take both of those off, and we just let it go, it just cuts abruptly, and it's kind of awkward, but it's the end of the video. But if I do exponential fade on my audio here, and I do dip to black on the end of my video, which are two really important transitions for the end of your videos or for the end of audio, and then I play, it has that nice dip to back, and my audio cuts and lowers, instead of just straight cutting out, it just lowers the volume to a 0 at the end, which is really nice. So another really important thing to point out when you're making your videos is the audio that you have in your videos. Audio is the most important thing. It is something that if you have bad audio, people are always going to bash you on it. But if you have good audio, no one's ever going to complain about good audio. And so that's why I have a nice mic, but it's also why the videos have to have a decent difference between your voice and your background music. And so right here you can see this tab right here, which is my audio mixer. So if you take one of these clips, so either one, so this is my background music, is this green one. If I click on this and I go to the audio clip mixer, which is right here in this top left hand corner, when you double click on it, you have this bar right here, which tells you how much lower or higher it is from the original. So if I were to say dump it all the way at 0 where it was originally, and play it right here, you would hear it's aggressive. I'm not going to play the rest of it because it's aggressive in comparison to the rest of my video. So my general rule of thumb, I'm sorry, it's a little loud. My general rule of thumb is I dump it all the way down to -34, and that gives me a nice even, so like when I play it now here, it's a lot more even with when I talk. And so I usually dump it down to about -34, and that usually evens it out with my audio. And then if my audio is lower, like if I double click here, I can show you guys, this is my audio for this one, and it's at 0, so that it's nice and it's not aggressive. I can keep my general audio at 0 and not have to mess with my general audio, but my background music is even with it.
I definitely needed this.
Like this, so you can hear them both evenly, which is really nice. So that's kind of an important thing. Or if you double left click on something, you go to your audio clip mixer, and then you can see it. And then when you play the video,
A little bit of a vacation.
You can see the audio levels right here.
Monday to
And you usually want to keep it in this 12 to 18 range. These two bars up top, that they flash red, you don't want to be there. That means you're peaking. It's a bad place to be. So I generally like to keep it about 12 to 18. You can go a little bit lower, a little bit higher, depending on what the video is. but I generally try to keep it in that range. So another quick thing I wanted to point out is sometimes, like I said earlier in the video, I can be at times a little dumb. And obviously you're probably a little bit smarter than me, so you're not going to do this. But if you have maybe a logo in your video that you're not supposed to show, or you have to blur something out like any private information, there's this thing, it's in your video effects tab, which is in the same area as your visual transitions and your audio transitions, but we have blurs. And I like to use channel blur. There's a lot of other blurs. Some of them work a little different than others, but the simple one is channel blur or compound blur. And what you're going to do is you're going to throw it on your video here. So if I put it on my image, and then I go to effects control, and I go to my compound blur, I can pick out, yeah, as you can see, it's a little big, so you don't want it that big. So maybe you just want to make this a little big, or you just want to make this a little square. So you're going to click it, you're going to go to this mask right here, and I usually use like the square, or you can use the circle, or anything like that, and then you can move it around, and so you don't want it to show. You go right here, you can make it bigger or smaller, and then it blurs out anything, and then you can mask it. You can go to the opacity, 100 being completely blurred, 0 being no blur at all. Like you can see, it goes from 0, if I can still see, the opacity is a lot bigger. These are all little things, so you can blur out like logos or stuff like that, like I said, sometimes maybe you're dumb like me at times, you forget to cover up a logo, you need to cover your own information. That's a quick little tip to get that out of the way. So the final thing I wanted to show off is actually something I learned rather recently, which is how to get rid of some of the ambient noise in your videos. So recently, like I said earlier, this video is from when I was at the beach on vacation the other week, and I filmed my intro and my outro on the beach. You know I'm on the beach, I want to film on the beach. And so there's a lot of background noise when you're on the beach that maybe sometimes you want to get rid of because you want your audio to sound a lot clearer. And so you can get rid of some of these. So I'll play the original one for you. So I'm going to mute my edited one, and I have the original audio that you guys can hear right here.
What is up, y'all? We're back to another weekly round.
So as you guys can hear, there's that wind, there's the waves, there's a lot going on in the background of that video. But if you go to your audio effects tab, like we said earlier, where we had your gain and your exponential power, all that stuff, and instead you go to the noise reduction and restoration tab, and we have dehummer and denoise. So if you toss those on, so first dehummer, which you toss on the video.
Content this week for the second.
You can already hear the difference in the audio quality. And so you also add on the denoise.
2 week in a row, I am out in the real world.
And all of a sudden that audio is a lot clearer. There's no background noise or anything like that. It gets rid of a lot of the stuff that you don't want to hear in that video. So that's a little thing you can add on to there that really ups the quality, and now you don't have the background noise. Or maybe like you have a fan in your room or anything like that where you're trying to film that you want to get rid of. You can toss those on there and get rid of that background noise. And it's really nice and makes the audio a lot clearer, which I really enjoy. So before we end this video, I wanted to give you guys 3 tips that I've learned along the way that I find to be really important. The first, save often, always save. Just hit Control S all the time, because you're going to learn really quickly. Premiere is a great software, but at times it's a little buggy. You have some issues with it. So just Control S, Control S, Control S. Just like we said earlier, Control Z, Control S, 2 very, very important keybites. Always save your work. You don't want to be halfway through a video like I was the other week, and you mess up, there's an error, there's an unexpected error with Premiere, and all of a sudden you lose 45 minutes, an hour of work, and you just want to sit there and cry for the rest of the day. So record Control S, Control S, Control S. Second, what I like to do is I like to store all of my files in one place. Like my audio files, my video files, all that stuff I like to put in the same place. So if there ever is an error and there's like corruption in your files, you can locate them really quickly and redo them. So I keep them all in my external drive. You may have another way of doing it, but I like to keep everything in one place so I don't lose it. And so I can, if something does happen, I can fix it relatively quickly. The third is something I've learned. I got yelled at a lot for it. Always film in horizontal unless absolutely necessary that you have to film in vertical, especially when you're on your phone. If you're filming with your phone, you always want to film in horizontal. You can make stuff look better from going horizontal to putting it in a vertical space. You cannot make your video look better trying to go from vertical to horizontal. So always film in horizontal, because you can fix that. You can't fix the vertical. Don't be me. Don't mess up like I did. always go for the horizontal. If I can leave you with anything, it is that. Always go for horizontal. But with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Remember to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And remember, guys, love each other.